not anymore. It used to be. I think that comes with a normal growing up.
Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin were more than Rat Pack legends. They were its soul, with smooth voices, effortless charm, and magnetic stage presence. They helped define an era of entertainment that still feels untouchable today. Alongside Sammy Davis Jr., they turned Las Vegas into their kingdom. The Rat Pack was not just a performing group. It was attitude, friendship, and chemistry that audiences could feel the moment they stepped on stage. Frank and Dean looked inseparable. They laughed together, drank together, and seemed to enjoy a friendship built on loyalty and fun.
And apparently what I've done is, without knowing it, is I've aped these people and begun to follow that kind of line.
Fans saw two men who shared everything. That image made what happened later almost impossible to believe. Then came the shock. Dean Martin suddenly cut Frank Sinatra out of his life. No more late-night calls, no more hanging out, no more Rat Pack magic. To outsiders, it felt sudden and confusing. How could two of Hollywood's closest friends reach a point where one simply closed the door? According to people who knew them, the answer traced back to a single moment. But to understand that story, you have to go back to the beginning. Before he became Dean Martin, the smooth king of cool, he was Dino Paul Crocetti, a rough kid from Steubenville, Ohio. Born on June 7, 1917, to Italian immigrant parents Gaetano and Angela Crocetti, Dino grew up far from glamour. His father worked as a barber while his mother held the family together with determination and love. Life taught him toughness early. At 15, Dino stepped into the boxing ring under the name Kid Crochet. Too broke to afford proper gear, he fought bare-knuckle matches that left him bruised and scarred, including a broken nose he later repaired. Dino joked he won all but 11 of his 12 fights, but fighting was never his real destiny. After moving to New York with little money and plenty of nerve, Dino hustled any way he could, even working at an illegal casino behind a tobacco shop. But through every job and every struggle, he held on to one thing, his voice. Calling himself Dino Martini, inspired by singer Nino Martini, he began performing with local bands shaped by the smooth sounds of Harry Mills and Perry Como. His talent soon earned him a spot with the Ernie Mackay Orchestra. By the late 1930s, audiences were already falling for that velvet voice.
I'm not lazy. They won't think I'm lazy, but they know I work.
That advice changed everything. Change your name. And with those three words, Dino Crocetti became Dean Martin. The new name carried a smoother sound, one fit for marquees and bright lights. By 1943, Dean was performing in New York, steadily building his reputation as a singer with effortless charm. His career paused briefly when he was drafted into the Army during World War II. But after 14 months, he was discharged due to a hernia. Even so, the stage never stopped calling him back. Love also entered his life during those early years. In October 1941, Dean married Elizabeth Betty Ann McDonald, and the couple settled in Cleveland Heights. Together, they welcomed 4 children before their marriage ended in 1949. Dean's path was anything but ordinary. From rough boxing rings and backroom casinos to nightclub stages and family life, his journey was already full of twists. But his greatest break had not arrived yet.
I've always admired people who are gentle and who have great patience.
By the mid-1940s, Dean was working relentlessly in New York City. He had the voice, the looks, and the easy confidence audiences loved. Night after night, he performed in smoky clubs, chasing the Hollywood success that always seemed just beyond reach. Big studios like MGM and Columbia noticed him, but real opportunities never materialized. Fame felt close enough to touch, yet somehow remained distant. Then fate stepped in. In August 1944, while performing at the Glass Hat Club inside New York's Belmont Plaza Hotel, Dean met a young comedian named Jerry Lewis. Jerry was energetic, unpredictable, and wildly different from Dean's laid-back style. Their first exchange seemed simple enough. Jerry later recalled Dean approaching him and saying, "Hey, I saw your act. You're a funny kid."
Oh, I drink, but I'm not a boozer, not an alcoholic or anything like that.
Neither man could have known those few words would launch one of entertainment's most legendary partnerships. At first, they were simply friends. Two performers trying to make it in the same business, sharing stages and chasing the same dream. But when they appeared together, something unusual happened. Their chemistry felt natural, almost impossible to explain. That chemistry faced its first real test on July 24th, 1946. At Atlantic City's famous 500 Club, Martin and Lewis made their official debut as a comedy team. The opening set was a disaster. The audience sat silent. No laughter, no excitement.
And I was eating, and he said, "You know," I said, "Frank, I'm talking." And he would stop and fall on the floor.
You could treat him any way you want.
Anyway.
Club owner Skinny D'Amato delivered a brutal warning backstage. "Make it work tonight or you're done." With their future hanging by a thread, Dean and Jerry improvised. There was no script and no polished routine, just instinct. Dean would sing, Jerry would create chaos, and chaos is exactly what followed. Jerry burst onto the stage dressed like a clumsy busboy, dropping dishes, interrupting songs, and stumbling into Dean's performance. While Dean calmly kept singing, Jerry turned the act upside down with pure mayhem. Suddenly, the room exploded with laughter. In that moment, they found the formula that would make them stars. From then on, Martin and Lewis became unstoppable. Their act was fast, unpredictable, and completely original. Jerry interrupted Dean mid-song. Dean fired back with cool sarcasm. They chased each other across the stage and turned performances into controlled madness that audiences adored.
I mean, could I be where I am today if I were lazy and if I were a boozer?
Soon, they were headlining the Copacabana and drawing packed crowds across the East Coast. Their blend of music, comedy, and chemistry was unlike anything audiences had seen before. The success spread quickly. In 1948, they made their television debut on Toast of the Town, later known as The Ed Sullivan Show, sharing airtime with some of entertainment's biggest names. To keep their routines sharp, they hired young writers, including future television legend Norman Lear and comedy writer Ed Simmons. The partnership kept growing. By 1949, Martin and Lewis had their own radio show and signed with Paramount Pictures. Their first film, My Friend Irma, turned them into movie stars almost overnight. The payday, around $75,000, was solid, but something mattered even more: control.
He was marvelous to my wife. He was great with women, too, as his marriage records will show.
Through York Productions, they gained power over films, television, radio, clubs, and records. Fame brought money, and soon the millions followed. At the heart of Martin and Lewis was something deeper than fame. It was friendship. Jerry Lewis stood beside Dean as best man when Dean remarried in 1949, proof of just how close they had become. On stage, they were unstoppable. Off stage, they seemed like brothers. Audiences saw endless laughter and effortless chemistry, believing the bond between them was unbreakable. But appearances can hide a lot. As the years passed, small cracks began to form beneath the surface. Dean increasingly felt trapped in the role of the straight man, while Jerry's explosive comedy grabbed most of the attention. What began as creative differences slowly turned into frustration. Behind the applause and sold-out crowds, quiet resentment started growing. Then came the ending no one expected. On July 25th, 1956, exactly 10 years after their breakthrough at the 500 Club, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis performed together for the final time. One of entertainment's most beloved partnerships was over. The split shocked fans everywhere. Yet even after the curtain closed, their legacy remained untouchable. Martin and Lewis had transformed comedy, television, and live performance forever. More than that, they had changed each other's lives. And for Dean Martin, a whole new chapter was waiting.
Was he really tough guy?
Frank believed he was a tough guy, but he was. He was a boxer when he was a kid, but he always used to say when somebody bothered him.
If many believed his best days had ended with Jerry Lewis, they were mistaken. In truth, Dean Martin was just getting started. By the late 1950s, his solo career was soaring. His voice carried the smooth warmth of aged whiskey, and his confidence had never been stronger. Standing nearby, already a giant in entertainment himself, was Frank Sinatra. Dean and Frank had crossed paths years earlier while both were navigating the music world. But their connection truly took shape in 1958 while filming Some Came Running alongside Shirley MacLaine. The movie succeeded at the box office, but something even bigger emerged behind the scenes: a friendship. And not just any friendship. It became the foundation of one of entertainment's most legendary circles. By the end of the decade, Dean and Frank stood at the center of a group that would define cool itself. Alongside Sammy Davis Jr., Peter Lawford, and Joey Bishop, they formed the crew history remembers as the Rat Pack. But here's something many people never realize. They never officially called themselves the Rat Pack. The nickname originally belonged to an earlier Hollywood circle led by Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, where Sinatra had once been part of the crowd. According to legend, Bacall jokingly called the exhausted partygoers a goddamn rat pack after one particularly wild night. The name stuck. Dean and his friends preferred titles like the Summit or the Clan, but the public had already chosen otherwise. And history never looked back. Together they became more than entertainers. They became symbols of an era.
And the way of living, friends, people with whom you become acquainted.
The Rat Pack ruled Hollywood nightlife, but Las Vegas was where they reached legendary status. At the Sands Hotel, their appearances felt less like scheduled performances and more like cultural events. Marquees teased audiences with playful promises. Maybe Dean, maybe Frank, maybe Sammy. The message was simple: show up and anything could happen. And usually it did. Their performances were loose, unpredictable, and electric. Dean might begin with a smooth ballad while Frank interrupted mid-song with a joke. Sammy Davis Jr. dazzled with dance and impressions, while Peter Lawford and Joey Bishop kept the comedy moving. Tuxedos, cigarettes, and martinis became part of the performance itself. Nothing was rehearsed enough to feel stiff, and nobody was safe from the jokes. They teased Frank about romance, Dean about drinking, and Sammy about subjects others considered untouchable. The humor pushed boundaries, sometimes dangerously so, but their charisma carried it. Still, beneath the swagger and wisecracks was something more meaningful. Dean and Frank were not afraid to take real stands when it mattered. During an era marked by segregation and prejudice, they refused to perform at venues that excluded Black or Jewish entertainers. Their actions spoke louder than publicity ever could. They risked money and major bookings to support equality, helping push open doors that had remained closed far too long. And even after the music faded, the Rat Pack's spirit never disappeared. Decades later, their influence lived on in films like Ocean's 11, where stars such as George Clooney and Brad Pitt borrowed that same effortless cool. In Dean Martin's Palm Springs home, memories still seem to linger. Vintage martini sets, hanging tuxedos, and photographs frozen in time. From dazzling under Vegas lights to reshaping entertainment itself, Dean Martin and the Rat Pack became more than stars. They were a brotherhood. Rebels dressed in tuxedos, armed with sharp wit and effortless swagger, they came to represent an era that still feels larger than life. But while Dean Martin looked untouchable on stage, his personal life told a more complicated story. Behind the charm and smooth voice was a man searching for lasting love. Dean's first marriage began in 1941 when he wed Elizabeth Betty Ann MacDonald. Together, they built a family and welcomed 4 children: Craig in 1942, Claudia in 1944, Gail in 1945, and Dina in 1948. During those early years, Dean was still climbing toward fame, balancing ambition with family life. But success often carries a price. As his career accelerated, the marriage struggled under growing pressure. By 1949, the relationship had ended. In a surprising move for that era, Dean received custody of their 4 children. Suddenly, the rising entertainer found himself navigating both fame and fatherhood. He did not stay single for long. Just 1 week after the divorce became final, Dean married 22-year-old Jean Beager, a former model and Orange Bowl princess. The whirlwind timing raised eyebrows, but the relationship became the longest and most public marriage of his life. Together, Dean and Jean looked like Hollywood royalty. Their glamorous appearances, red carpet photographs, and polished image made them one of the entertainment world's favorite couples. They welcomed 3 children, Dean Paul, Richie, and Gina. Jean also embraced the role of stepmother, helping raise Dean's children from his first marriage and becoming the steady center of a growing blended family. For more than 2 decades, they lived a life many envied. Movie premieres, television appearances, and celebrity parties surrounded them. Yet behind the flashbulbs and elegant smiles, trouble slowly grew. By 1969, the marriage ended in divorce, leaving fans stunned. For many admirers, the split felt nearly as shocking as Dean's separation from Jerry Lewis years earlier. True to his personality, Dean masked pain with humor. Reflecting on the breakup, he joked, "It's supposed to be the gentlemanly thing to let the woman file, but I'm no gentleman." Even heartbreak somehow became part of the act. Still, Dean had not completely given up on love. In 1973, he married Catherine Hahn, a former receptionist whose striking appearance drew attention in Hollywood circles. Together, they adopted a young girl named Sasha, adding another chapter to Dean's family story. But this marriage proved far shorter. Within only a few years, the relationship ended in divorce. This time, the experience seemed final. Dean never remarried again. Yet through every failed marriage and personal disappointment, one thing remained unchanged. Family mattered deeply to him. Filmmaker Tom Donahue later said Dean genuinely valued family, and those who knew him agreed. Beneath the polished image and carefree persona lived a man who craved connection and loyalty above almost everything else. And nowhere was that devotion more visible than in his relationship with his son, Dean Paul Martin. Known affectionately as Dino, Dean Paul was born during Dean's marriage to Jean and quickly became the center of his father's world. Handsome, talented, and driven, Dino reflected many qualities Dean admired most. He pursued music and acting, competed as a professional tennis player, and eventually joined the California Air National Guard as a fighter pilot. He was not simply living in his father's shadow. He was building a remarkable identity of his own. For Dean Martin, Dino represented hope, pride, and legacy. Then, tragedy struck. On March 21, 1987, Dino departed on what should have been a routine military training flight over California. But somewhere above the cloud-covered mountains, something went terribly wrong. His jet disappeared from radar. After Dino's jet disappeared, the silence became unbearable. No radio contact, no distress call, just empty skies and growing fear. Panic spread quickly. The son of one of America's most beloved entertainers had vanished during what should have been a routine training flight, and every passing hour made the situation feel more desperate. Search crews moved fast. Helicopters swept across the mountains. Aircraft scanned the rugged terrain. Rescue experts searched relentlessly, but day after day, they found nothing. Back in Beverly Hills, Dean Martin waited in agony, chain-smoking and clinging to hope while fearing the answer he dreaded most. He was not facing the nightmare alone. Frank Sinatra stood beside him. Frank understood this kind of heartbreak better than most. Years earlier, His own mother had died in a plane crash in the same mountain region. Watching Dean suffer reopened wounds Sinatra knew too well. He offered comfort where he could, quietly assuring his longtime friend that he would do anything to help. But some pain cannot be fixed. Desperate for answers, Dean reportedly even consulted psychics. One allegedly touched Dino's flight suit and immediately sensed tragedy. Another pointed towards San Gorgonio Mountain, the same unforgiving area tied to Sinatra's own family loss. Then came the call no father ever wants to receive. 3 days after the disappearance, search teams reached the mountainside and discovered scattered wreckage. There were no survivors. Dean Paul Martin was dead at only 35 years old. The news devastated Dean Martin. Friends noticed the change immediately. The easy laughter faded. The sparkle behind the jokes disappeared. The relaxed, wisecracking entertainer audiences adored suddenly seemed distant, carrying grief too heavy to hide. Something inside him had broken. Frank Sinatra, always eager to help those he loved, believed returning to the stage might heal his friend. He organized a large reunion-style concert tour, hoping the energy, crowds, and old camaraderie would lift Dean's spirits. Instead, it had the opposite effect. Frank thrived on massive arenas and late-night excitement. Dean no longer did. He preferred smaller rooms and quieter moments. The spotlight that once energized him now felt exhausting. The disconnect became impossible to ignore. On stage, Dean struggled. He forgot lyrics, stumbled through jokes, and looked increasingly uncomfortable beneath the bright lights. The playful drinking persona that once charmed audiences no longer felt carefree. It felt painful. After one particularly rough performance in New York, Frank and Sammy Davis Jr. prepared for another night of celebration. Dean wanted none of it. He retreated to his room, shut the door, and later quietly boarded a private jet back to Los Angeles without explanation. The tour continued without him, but the damage was done. Fans were stunned. Reporters speculated endlessly. Yet Dean no longer seemed interested in preserving appearances. The showman who had spent decades entertaining the world had grown tired of pretending everything was fine. The magic that once surrounded him had faded. Still, even in grief, Dean held tightly to the people who mattered most. Family became his refuge. Though Dino's death left a wound that never healed, Dean still had 7 other children and an expanding circle of loved ones. As the years passed, marriages and grandchildren enlarged the Martin family. Familiar faces entered the fold, including members connected to music, sports, and Hollywood. Life continued moving forward, even when Dean struggled to follow. But time carried another cruel blow. The cocktails on stage may often have been harmless props, but Dean's lifelong smoking habit was very real. In September 1993, doctors at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center delivered grim news. Lung cancer. They told him surgery might extend his life. Dean refused treatment. Some believed the old Dean Martin, the man full of swagger and optimism, might have fought harder. But those closest to him felt something essential had changed after Dino's death. By early 1995, Dean withdrew completely from public life. The performer who once dominated Las Vegas showrooms, Hollywood sets, and television screens now spent his days quietly at home, surrounded by family and a small circle of trusted friends. Then, on Christmas Day, 1995, Dean Martin passed away at his Beverly Hills home from acute respiratory failure. He was 78 years old. The world lost one of its last true entertainers, and in a haunting twist of fate, his death came exactly 29 years after the passing of his own mother. The world had lost its king of cool. No more velvet vocals drifting through smoky rooms. No more sly grin, effortless charm, or late-night swagger. Dean Martin, the man who had entertained millions, was gone, leaving behind memories wrapped in music and nostalgia. But long before his final goodbye, another painful chapter had quietly unfolded. For years, Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra had seemed inseparable. They were the beating heart of the Rat Pack, two legends bound by fame, friendship, and countless nights under the bright lights of Hollywood and Las Vegas. Together, they represented style, loyalty, and mischief. At least that was the public image. Behind the glamour, their friendship carried tensions few outsiders fully understood. According to many who knew Dean, he eventually began distancing himself from Sinatra, not because of jealousy or competition, but because he grew weary of the chaos that often followed Frank wherever he went. And one explosive night in Beverly Hills may have pushed things too far. The date was June 7th, 1966. Dean Martin had turned 49. To celebrate, he and Sinatra gathered the way they usually did, surrounded by expensive drinks, close companions, and the promise of a long evening. Their destination was the legendary Polo Lounge inside the Beverly Hills Hotel, a glamorous hideaway where movie stars, power brokers, and social elites mingled beneath dim lighting and quiet luxury. Dean had plenty to celebrate. By the mid-1960s, he stood among the highest-paid entertainers in America. Films, hit records, television, and Vegas performances had turned him into a cultural powerhouse. Sinatra, now 50, remained equally commanding. His career was thriving, and his highly public romance with 20-year-old Mia Farrow kept him constantly in headlines. The evening attracted a familiar crowd. Among those present were actor Richard Conte, later famous for The Godfather, and Sinatra's longtime friend and protector, Jilly Rizzo. A handful of women joined the gathering as well, making it a typical Rat Pack night. And wherever Sinatra and Jilly went, subtlety rarely followed. Jilly Rizzo had built a reputation nearly as colorful as Sinatra's own. A former New York club owner with a glass eye and unmistakable streetwise swagger, he carried fierce loyalty toward Frank. If Sinatra commanded the room, Jilly helped control it. Their booth quickly became the center of attention. Laughter rolled across the lounge. Drinks flowed steadily. Voices rose louder with every round. The group joked, teased, and traded stories with the kind of confidence that suggested they believed the world belonged to them. Many guests found the energy entertaining. Others did not. Seated nearby was Frederick R. Wiseman, a wealthy businessman and former Hunt's Foods executive known for his influence and respected reputation. With him sat Franklin H. Fox, an older Boston businessman and family friend. The pair had spent the evening discussing family matters and had stopped by the Polo Lounge expecting a peaceful nightcap. Instead, they found themselves sitting beside a Rat Pack celebration in full swing. At first, the men tried to ignore the noise, but as the laughter grew louder and the language increasingly rough, patience began to wear thin. Eventually, Wiseman had enough. Leaning toward Sinatra's table, he reportedly asked the group to lower their voices, reminding them that ladies were present and the disturbance was becoming excessive. The request did not land well. Sinatra initially thought the comment was playful. Then he realized it was serious. Frank fired back sharply, insisting the man was out of line. Tension spread almost immediately, but the party kept going, the drinks still flowing and tempers beginning to rise beneath the surface. And that is where the celebration took a darker turn. What happened next depends entirely on who you believe. The Polo Lounge incident became one of those Hollywood stories wrapped in rumor, conflicting memories, and unanswered questions. Every witness seemed to tell a different version. Frank Sinatra had his own account. According to him, Frederick Wiseman suddenly punched him, leaving him with a black eye. Sinatra insisted there was no retaliation, only confusion, and somehow Wiseman stumbled and crashed into a nearby cocktail table. Others told a far darker story. Franklin Fox claimed Sinatra became furious after being confronted, allegedly making offensive remarks before storming away in anger. But instead of cooling down, Sinatra reportedly returned moments later in a rage. Dean Martin and others supposedly tried to calm him, urging him to let the matter go. But emotions were already boiling. One version claims Sinatra grabbed one of the Polo Lounge's famous pink telephones and hurled it toward Wiseman, striking him violently. Another describes a chaotic struggle filled with shouting, grabbing, and confusion, ending with Wiseman suddenly collapsing to the floor. The details may never be fully known, but every account shares one chilling moment: the sound. Frederick Wiseman hit the floor hard amid shattered glass, overturned furniture, and stunned silence. He was unconscious. Franklin Fox rushed to help while hotel security moved in. Meanwhile, the Rat Pack party quickly dissolved. Sinatra was hurried out before police arrived, and paramedics soon carried Wiseman away on a stretcher. Back at home, Dean Martin returned quietly. His daughter Dina was surprised to see him home early, especially on his birthday. Dean offered only a few uneasy words. "Frank blew a fuse tonight. He can't let it go." When asked whether anyone had been hurt, Dean avoided specifics. I don't know anything." But the story was far from over. Although Wiseman initially received treatment and went home, his condition worsened overnight. By morning, he was rushed to Mount Sinai Hospital, where doctors discovered a fractured skull. Emergency surgery followed, and soon he lay in a coma with doctors uncertain whether he would survive. The situation suddenly became far more serious. Beverly Hills Police Chief Clinton Anderson ordered a full investigation. Sinatra was not merely a celebrity. He carried powerful political connections and a reputation that made any scandal instantly explosive. But regardless of fame or influence, a man remained hospitalized in critical condition. Detectives interviewed witnesses and hotel employees. The problem? The stories simply did not match. Some insisted Wiseman had been struck. Others believed he fell accidentally. No clear sequence emerged. Adding to the confusion, Sinatra and Martin had already left town, fueling even more speculation. Police promised answers. The tabloids, meanwhile, wasted no time. Hollywood gossip columns exploded with sensational headlines. The image of Frank Sinatra allegedly injuring a millionaire with a pink telephone proved impossible for reporters to resist. And even though no charges had been filed, reputations were already taking damage. But for Dean Martin, the incident cut deeper than newspaper headlines. To him, that night represented something larger. For years, Dean had lived beside Sinatra's intensity. He knew Frank's charm, loyalty, and generosity. But he also knew the unpredictability, the headlines, and the constant storms that seemed to follow him. And Dean was different. Offstage, he preferred calm, family, quiet evenings, smaller circles. Sinatra thrived on excitement and confrontation. That contrast, some believe, slowly drove a wedge between them. After the Beverly Hills incident, many noticed distance growing between the two men. Some claimed Dean stopped returning Frank's calls. Others believed he deliberately pulled back, deciding the friendship had become emotionally exhausting. Whether the split happened suddenly or gradually, the bond that once dominated Vegas showrooms and Hollywood nightlife no longer felt the same. Eventually, Frederick Wiseman recovered, though his recovery took time. And in classic Hollywood fashion, the scandal faded. No charges were filed. The case quietly disappeared beneath the polished surface of Beverly Hills society, joining countless other controversies buried during entertainment's golden age. But Dean Martin never forgot that birthday. He had arrived expecting celebration. Instead, he left carrying unease, unwanted publicity, and perhaps the painful realization that even legendary friendships have limits. Sometimes the brightest lights hide the deepest cracks. So what do you think? Did Dean Martin have good reason to distance himself from Frank Sinatra, or was their friendship simply another casualty of fame and larger-than-life personalities? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more classic Hollywood legends and untold stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.